ndikulandireni kulikonse kumene mungakhale ndipo kuchokera kuno ku Times Television TTV Times 360 Malawi Facebook page komanso pa wireless yanu ya Times. It's about time.
Good evening and thanks for watching the news with me, George Misinde. First, the headlines. The 302,400 doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine have arrived in the country. Malawi is ready for the 41st SADC Summit. In other news, Director of Public Assets Declarations Michael Chiusiwa demands reports from public officers who are yet to declare assets. We also have the latest in international news. Please do stay with us. Thanks for joining us. The much-awaited 302,400 doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccines have arrived in the country. The vaccines are part of a support package from the U.S. government through the United Nations COVAX facility. The vaccines arrived through Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe on Saturday. Rebecca Jimjeka has more in this report, read by Elvis Hoa.
Speaking after the arrival of the vaccines, the U.S. Charge d'Affaires, Jeremy Nitzik, said he was proud to affirm his government's partnership and friendship with Malawi through the donation of the vaccines.
The first tranche of the U.S. government's commitment to Africa is 15 million doses, of which these 300,000 that are arriving today are Malawi's arrival commitment. We're working with our partners here in Malawi, the Ministry of Health, and across the continent with the African Union and the African CDC to deliver vaccines to populations that are in need of the vaccine globally.
On our part, Minister of Health, Kumbize Kandoduchiponda, said the arrival of the vaccines was timely.
I want to assure Malawians that even the Johnson & Johnson, it is a very safe vaccine with efficacy of over 90%.
UNICEF Malawi Deputy Representative Margarita Tileva said the US-made Johnson & Johnson vaccine can be stored under conventional vaccine storage conditions, enabling distribution to far-flung areas where population can be fully protected with a single dose. Since July 1st, 2021, there's been an potential increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in Malawi, with an average of 560 new cases and 15 deaths per day. The arrival of the vaccines brings the total vaccine doses the country has received so far through COVAX to more than 850,000.
Malawi is ready for the 41st Summit of the Southern African Development Community, SADC Heads of State and Government. Vice President Saulos Chilima has said Malawi hosts the summit from the 9th to the 18th of August. Vice President Chilima has been visiting various facilities expected to be used during the SADC meeting and says he's satisfied with Malawi's readiness.
As promised, we have now come to see the final. As far as we are concerned, the COVID facilities are all done. Arrivals and departures all taken care of, and I would say that the airport is set.
Vice President Saulos Chilima. Director of Public Assets Declarations Michael Chiusiwa has demanded reports from public officers who are yet to declare their assets. Chiusiwa had announced a 30th June deadline but some public officers are yet to declare their assets. As Blessings Mpinganjira reports, the officers risk losing their jobs.
According to Assets Declarations Office, the annual declarations are submitted within 30 days after commencement of each fiscal year. The 2020-2021 fiscal year ended on June 30. Chiusiwa says from 1st August, officers who have not declared their assets need to come up with a proper report or risking losing their positions. He says failure to declare assets has a very negative impact on the fight against corruption as duty bearers take advantage of funds at their disposal to enrich themselves.
For this year again, indeed, as per the law, the deadline was July 30. That's just last Friday. So as of now, it means those who have not submitted, it means they have defaulted.
In the 2019-2020 financial year, 65 councillors failed to declare their assets.
Mzuzu Central Hospital has no oncologist to support cancer patients. The Cancer Association of Malawi says cancer patients from the northern region are forced to travel all the way to Blantyre or Lilongwe for specialized care. The association's secretary for Northern Region Chapter, Sibongile Tembo, says the situation is even worse among poor patients. Sam Kalimira is in Mzuzu.
Most cancer patients from the northern region travel to Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Blantyre or Kamuzu Central Hospital in Lilongwe to access better services. Tembo, a cancer survivor herself, describes the situation as unfortunate, saying like all Malawians, cancer patients from the northern region pay taxes and deserve proper health services. Tembo says although Mzuzu Central Hospital provides transportation for patients referred to Lilongwe, only few are able to access the service in time due to a backlog of cases.
In northern region, I would love that I could see the oncologist in oncology department, not a nurse, but oncologist. Because nurses are carrying a very big burden, which are even asking doctors in Lilongwe and Blantyre that they want to be assisted. Without an oncologist, a nurse cannot work on that issue.
Minister of Health Public Relations Officer Adrian Chikumbe was not immediately available for comment, but health rights activist Maziko Matemba says the situation deprives cancer patients from the northern region of their right to quality health services. Matemba says all health facilities need specialists in different fields so that they effectively provide quality health services to Malawians. An international agency for research report of 2020 indicates that Malawi registered about 17,936 cancer cases, 12,454 of which died.
A Human Rights Defenders Coalition has warned of nationwide demonstrations against the Tonse Alliance-led administration. The organization has given the administration 30 days to come up with a plan on how it intends to deal with the current economic hardships or face protests. Rebecca Jimjeka has more in this report, read by Blessings Mpinganjira.
HRDC is accusing the Tonse government of following the footsteps of the former ruling Democratic Progressive Party administration that thrived on corruption, nepotism, and blatant abuse of law, among others. But Minister of Information Gospel Gazago says government is doing its best to solve the challenges and government is willing to respond at an appropriate time.
Not agree, but at the moment there is nothing that we can say. We have been requested to respond. If they also wanted, they could have actually called us to a round table so that we can explain to them what we are doing, because we are explaining every time. We are planning, we are restructuring, we are recalibrating.
According to chairperson of the Human Rights Defenders Coalition, Gift Trapens, government has failed to demonstrate how it intends to take Malawians to the promised biblical Canaan that was synonymous with the flowing milk and honey. However, Minister of Information Gospel Kazako says government will respond before 30 days. HRDC says it will hold the protest if government fails to take action on the matter.
The Office of the President and Cabinet says a refund of the over 112 million kwacha, which was not used in this year's Independence Day celebrations, will be made next week. This and other stories after the break.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
To achieve great things in life, you must do little things every day, like the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate. 1, wake up, wake up. 2, brush up, brush up. 3, smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea. Smile through your day with a fresh breath and strong tea. Do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate and give yourself a future to smile about.
Why is Mzuzu Academy the perfect fit for you? Let me show you. Our school is located in the outskirts of Mzuzu City, Louis, which means two things: security and zero distraction. With a ratio of 25 students to 1 teacher, including a teaching assistant, you can bet that we get only the best. That is why Mzuzu International Academy is the perfect fit for you.
Welcome back. The Office of the President and Cabinet says a refund of the over 112 million kwacha, which was not used in this year's Independence Day celebrations, will be made next week. Clerk to the Cabinet, Marjorie Shema, has confirmed the development. We have the details in this report.
Shema said the process of transferring the amount is currently underway and will be finalized next week. Shema's statement follows Times revelations that 238 million kwacha was deposited into Chief Secretary to the government bank account on July 2, 2021 against a trimmed budget of 50 million kwacha. In her statement last week, Shema said the total expenditure was 87 million kwacha. Meanwhile, Public Accounts Committee has asked the Auditor General to verify the figures.
In other news, authorities at Katoto Secondary School have complained of inadequate science teachers. Head teacher Christopher Nyasulu says the development is compromising efforts to promote science subjects at the school. Katoto Secondary School has 20 teachers specialized in science subjects against a population of over 12,000 students. Sam Kalimira reports.
Government has been promoting science subjects in primary and secondary schools by, among others, employing science teachers to reduce vacancy rates. However, the challenge seems not to be ending. Katoto Secondary School is one of the schools that have few teachers in science subjects. Head teacher Christopher Nyasuru says out of 60 teachers that are at the school, 20 are in sciences.
Teachers will never be enough. It's a big challenge. We have very few teachers in the science department, so we need more teachers. But I know this is a cry for each and every school.
Recently, former students of Katoto Secondary School donated 50 chairs at the school. During the donation, one of the students who currently works at Mzuzu State Lodge, Mathias Mgemezuru, encouraged students at the school to work hard.
To be an orphan or coming from a very poor family, that's not the end of life. They need to work hard in class, pray to God, live a real life to God. Then things work out for them.
Katoto Secondary School is located within Mzuzu Central Business District.
In international news, China is the world's major seafood producer, and critics say its fleets engage in aggressive tactics as the nation tries to feed its 1.4 billion people. Mike O'Sullivan reports from Honolulu that U.S. fishermen are worried about China's expanding footprint in the Pacific.
Early morning in Honolulu, fresh yellowfin, big-eye tuna, and other fish are up for auction. Hawaii's fishermen target the same stocks as the boats of other nations, and monitoring groups see an upsurge in China's activities in Pacific waters. The U.S. Coast Guard warns of expanded illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing by the ships from many countries, including China, further threatening depleted marine resources. Pacific fishing fleets are closely watched under U.S. domestic and international law.
We have independent observer coverage levels of at least 20% in our tuna fishery, whereas China barely scratches 5%. And we have a whole suite of environmental laws and statutes and regulations.
Satellite imagery suggests a Chinese fleet is approaching Ecuador, bordering its exclusive economic zone, threatening sensitive sea life near the Galapagos Islands. Critics say Chinese ships often break the rules, encroaching on South Korean waters. Plus, Chinese vessels have been found to fish off the coast of North Korea, operating in a gray zone, says an analyst at a Hawaii center funded by the U.S. Department of Defense, who stresses that his opinions are his own. He says China is threatening fish stocks as it pursues strategic goals.
They have huge factory ships with whole flotillas of actual fishing vessels around them. And so they can move into an area and fish intensively and process a huge amount of fish in their big sort of mothership before leaving.
China has the largest fishing fleet in the world and is the world's biggest consumer of seafood. Its distant water fleet is huge, and China says it will cap it at 3,000 vessels. The U.S. Coast Guard says another 3,000 paramilitary ships back up the Chinese fleet. One estimate puts its fleet size much higher when Chinese ships that fly the flags of other nations are included. Some expansion is perfectly legal through China's agreements with Pacific Island nations allowing its ships to fish their waters, and build a port in Kiribati, joining other facilities from Ghana to Myanmar, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. There is some pushback. Samoa's new prime minister has canceled plans for a Chinese-financed port. Concerns are growing in the nearby U.S. territory of American Samoa, its tuna catch slashed by Chinese fishing boats that surround its waters.
And you have one player that doesn't seem to have any controls on the expansion of its fishing fleet and of its capacity to extract these renewable resources. It's of great concern to us.
Fisheries in many parts of the world are threatened, but experts in Hawaii say local tuna stocks have not been overfished. One guideline will keep it that way.
Simply don't take more than the natural environment, the natural system can replenish year after year.
And increase the level of monitoring to ensure that the rules on seafood catches are enforced, he says. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Honolulu.
That's the news, but before we go, the headlines again. The 302,400 doses of Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine have arrived in the country. Malawi ready for the 41st SADC Summit. In other news, Director of Public Assets Declarations Michael Jusiwa demands reports from public officers who are yet to declare assets. Remember, you can get more on these and other stories by visiting our website www.times.mw, liking our Facebook page Times 360 Malawi, and following us on Twitter at Times 360 Malawi. Remember to wash your hands regularly, observe social and physical distance, and mask up. Please stay safe. You've been with me, George Misinde.
I got a call from my driver telling me that my motor vehicle was involved